Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session for BESA. We'll give few minutes for people to join. And in the meantime, let me share the screen and start. Today, what we'll be doing is a bit different from what we have done in other sessions. So I'll share my screen. And then we'll get started in a moment when everyone would be joining us. In the meantime, let me introduce all the people who are there with us. It will be Tabby with me today presenting. Hello, Tabby.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if my video is audible. I'm audible, but my video is loading.
Yeah, it's fine. Then we have Ashish.
It's coming.
Hi
Ashish was
everyone, thanks
faster.
Prasad for taking over. I'm a little busy this time and that's why I couldn't host, but yeah, Prasad is taking over, so that's all good. I'll answer questions as much as I can in the chat.
And we also have Parna.
Hi everyone, welcome back.
Great. So, as everyone is joining, what we'll do is I'll give a quick recap of what we have covered till now. We are in the week 3. In the first week, we covered migration patterns and pathways. We also looked into application discovery service, ADS. And on the behavioral side, we had ASA covering the keynote. In the second week, we dive deep into migration tools, specifically on application migration service. And on the behavioral side, we had guest speakers talking about how you can transition from IT roles, traditional IT roles, to cloud solutions architect. In week 3, on the technical track, we are going to see how the application discovery service and application migration service, they all tie up together in our VMware session. So we'll be covering VMware migration pathways and AWS Transform for VMware. And we'll see how AWS Transform for VMware uses application discovery service and application migration service to do the migration of VMware workloads onto AWS. And on the behavioral track, we will be looking into how you can run a successful workload discovery meeting, which Parna and Nabil would be leading. The first session, VMware, would be led by me and Tabby. And as I was saying, that the first 2 sessions, what we have done on the technical track is we have actually did a role play of a customer and an AWS expert. This time we are trying something different. We are trying it much more interactive with the audience. And that brings me to what we have. Okay, for that, thanks a lot for a lot of people who have actually done the knowledge checks of week 1 and week 2. And I just posted on LinkedIn that we have around 600 people who have done the week 1 badge, and we have more than 300 people who have got the week 2 badge. And yes, there is no specific number of retries in terms of time limit. You can get these knowledge checks, get these batches by completing the knowledge check till October 31st. So you do have time. Take your time in learning. Do not rush in getting the badges. Watch the videos, read the materials that we send over the email, and then do the knowledge checks. You'll be having higher chance of passing them in the first attempt. So please, thanks everyone who has been following that. Any questions, feel free to let us know in the Discord channel. And yes, that's brings us to today's topic. And as I was saying, the different that we are trying today is to be more interactive and do it via a Kahoot quiz. So I would request everyone to start joining the Kahoot. There are 2 ways to join. The first way is you can join it on a browser. You can simply go to www.kahoot.it and enter this game pin, and then you will be able to join. Or you can play it on your mobile. Just scan the QR code and play it on your mobile, or even on your mobile, you can go to kahoot.it and enter that game pin. I see people started joining. That's great. The more people it will be, the more interactive it would be. How it's going to run here is that we will be having some questions and some slides. So whenever there's a slide, like Tabby would be pitching in, I will be pitching in to explain the concepts, and then there'll be a few questions to test your knowledge. I see a lot of people joining in. What I'll do is that I'm going to remove Ashish and Parna from the screen, and they'll come back during the behavioral. But for now, it will be me and Tabby who will be actually running the show. Okay, Ashish, I lost the control. Okay, got it. Yes. Tabby, your camera focus has somehow gone a bit bad. I'm not sure. Is it camera focus or is it...
I did not touch anything. Do you want me to play with it?
No, it's somehow I'm not able to view your video properly.
Oh,
It's kind of frozen, and I'm not sure if it is just for me.
Let me try again. I changed the definition. Let me know if you see any difference.
Yeah, we'll give a moment. Yeah, it's blurred actually somehow.
Because maybe I go to standard definition.
Yeah. Or probably you can turn off and turn on again. Sometimes it takes. I
Yeah,
see
I
a lot of
can do
people
that.
joining. That's great, amazing. There should be a way to show how many people have joined actually, but we'll give another. Yeah, 105 people have joined already, and we have 178 people watching live. So yeah, I think we are pretty good. We'll keep we'll wait for another couple of minutes before we start so that we have everyone join. And even if you have joined late, you can you don't need to worry. You can simply join the game in between. This game is not a competition or something like that. It's more about making it interactive and having fun while learning.
So how's the video, Ashish? Better?
Uh, Tabby,
Hopefully.
still it is a bit blurry.
You're
I
not
see
sure,
Ashish.
Debbie, if there is a option for autofocus. So I think focus has changed for the camera, and that's why it's picking up something else.
Oh. Advanced.
Or probably your background has removed. I remember that you had a background that got removed or something.
Let me join again.
Yeah, let's do that.
Go ahead.
Anyways, we are waiting for folks to join. I see 117, 118 people already joined. That's great.
Yeah, miss. It's good to have all people here. And this time we are trying different thing. Like this is a Kahoot quiz. And the idea is still knowledge sharing, but in a different way. So we try to do as much change as we can so that more people would be interested and more people would join and learn few things. So please keep on your learning journey. Don't fade away. As you could see, 600 people passed the first knowledge check. By second, it has become like half of it. And it's very common. Continuation is very complicated. People are not able to continue on properly, or they get distracted, or something else happens. But yeah, consistency is important for anything you do, whether it's a career, whether it's some thing you are learning. So consistency is important. So please make sure you follow it. And if you learn something, share it on LinkedIn too. Share it on any other social media if you like, so that others can also get benefited from it and get most out of this program. So we are still seeing a lot of people joining in 192 live. And now Debbie has entered into studio. Let me add her again. And, sorry, Prasad, probably you.
Yeah, I think we
Go
both
ahead.
were updating it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I see Tabby now.
Now you're good.
Is it better?
Debbie, we can see you now. Yeah, much better, much better. Go ahead.
Yes, now we
All
can
the best.
So
see your
don't
smiling
remove me,
face.
Ashish. This happens when you remove me. I think it switches between the cameras, but you're good now. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Okay, we'll give Max another 30 seconds and then we'll get started, right? And Ashish and Parna will be there in the chat to help you with any questions in the chat. And Ashish and Parna, like probably after every few minutes, if you see more people joining, just paste the link of the Kahoot and the game pin so that people who are joining in between, they can also join the quiz. Again, as I said, there are two ways to play it. One is on your desktop by, going into this Kahoot.it and using the game pin, or on your mobile. You need to have the view of both the screen that I'm presenting as well as the screen on which you'll be selecting the right option. So ensure that you are able to have access to both of it. With that, I think let's start. We have 129 people joining. Let's make it 130. The moment it will be 130, I'll start it.
Let's
Come
go.
on, who is joining us? Oh, it became 128. Do not be shy. Come on, 129. Okay, Ranga joined. One more person. And 130 demo. Okay, so we have 130 cross. So let's start it. So this is Vipasa, week 3, VMware. And let's start with the first question. It's a word cloud. Where do you live? Just icebreaker. Where do you live? We want to know from where all we are joining, the participants are joining. So you have 30 seconds to type in your answer. So once you type in your answers, we will go and have a look about where people are joining us from. Okay, we have got 70 plus answers, 75. Okay, we need to reach at least 100 plus. I'm sure we'll be reaching it. Last second, yes, we got 102 4 answers. Okay, let's see. Kuala Lumpur, Munich, Texas, Michigan, Somalia, Delhi, London, Dallas, Austin, Chicago, Germany, Kenya, South Africa, USA, Bangalore, Australia. So we have people from all around the world, right? So
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go to the next question. And just another word cloud as an icebreaker. What is your role? Right? So are you a developer, SA, manager, coming from a completely different background, a student? What role are you from? What is your role? And while people are answering, yeah, once these icebreaker questions get passed, we'll start with the 4 sections of the VMware. Okay, we got 103 questions, so let's see. Career students, DevOps, IT support, project manager, principal SDE, manager, solutions, consultant, DevOps engineer, software engineer, solutions architect. Obviously we have a lot of solutions architect. That's great. Software developers, data engineers, consultant, logistics, cloud designer, DevOps engineers. Okay, you can see on the screen how
Awesome.
many.
Yeah, amazing. Different, diverse background, diverse cities and towns. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next question. And this is for people who have actually done the knowledge checks for the badges, and we would like to know a little bit. This is more of a poll. So you have around 15 more seconds to answer it. That what's the difficulty level of the knowledge checks for the badges? Was it easy, medium, difficult, or not attempted yet? 5 more seconds. Cool. Okay. Majority of you says it is medium. None of you found it difficult who have attempted. That is good. We can increase the bar now. We can make it a bit more difficult for folks. Thank you. And then, okay, there are 20 people who have not attempted. But yeah, cool. Thanks for this. Now let's get into this week's topic is VMware fundamentals. Right. So we'll start with understanding what's the knowledge of the VMware is. Obviously, if you're coming completely new and who do not have idea about the VMware, it will be very difficult to get crammed up within an hour. So we will, probably provide you with some high-level concepts, and then it will be up to you to do a lot of reading and get crammed up. Okay. And why VMware is such an important topic in today's world in migration modernization is this: if on-prem workloads is the entire pizza, how many workloads do you think does run on VMware? Like, what's the VMware slice would be of a particular pizza? Is it 45%, 65%, 85%, or 95%? Okay, 9 of you got it right. Mm-hmm. It is 85%.
Yeah. Yeah, so VMware, just to give a little bit of a background, is a pioneer in virtualization, right? And they founded in 1988. Today, a significant portion of enterprise workload on premises sit on VMware, between 60 to 85%. So 85 was the correct answer. And a fun fact, Gartner had an analysis and they indicated that 90% of the Microsoft workload runs on VMware. So that's a significant portion.
Yes, and that's why it is so important when you're talking about migration modernization. And if you're a customer on-prem, you would see more probably they would be running it on VMware. So that's why it becomes a very important topic. Anyone who wants to become a migration modernization essay to learn about VMware. Okay, next question. Let's see first the scoreboard. Okay, Ash 1, 2, 3. If it is Ashish, then yes, Ashish, definitely you will be winning it. So cool. And then Ashish is an ex-VMware. If folks you do not know, Ashish is an ex-VMware person joining AWS. Okay, this is the first question. Which VMware product is used for virtualization management in software-defined data center architecture? Is it vSphere? Is it vCenter? Is it NSX? Or is it vSAN? And if you don't know it, do not worry at all. At this point, we will be talking about these concepts in a few moments. Okay, 40 of you got right, vCenter, and I see there's a close contest between vSphere and vCenter, and it's completely understandable. Okay, Ashish, I see joining the call. Ashish,
yeah, I wanted to say something like people who are new to Kahoot, they have to see the question on the screen. On mobile, they just see the icon. So that is one person's question was there. like they are seeing only the icons for clicking in. So that is expected. You read the question on screen, and on your mobile you would be answering it. And yeah, Ash123 was me. I'll not be answering. I was just testing.
uh, yes, sir. As I said, like you need to have access to both the screen that we are showing as well as the screen where you're answering, and that can be on your browser, on your mobile, wherever it is. You need to have access to the both. That's how this Kahoot app works. Okay, to talk about this, let me go to the slide. I'll see. Okay, SJ is leading now, and then I would let Tabby to talk about
Sure.
all the architecture. Yeah.
Yeah, there are a few related VMware products that, if you don't work with it on a daily basis, it kind of get confusing. vSphere, as you said, versus vCenter. So this diagram, if you look at it, the hardware layer is the bottom layer. It's basically talking about the physical server, the foundation compute that's in your data center or the customer data center. There's also a physical storage, SANs, local storage, etc. Everything that physically you can touch. And then the network, the physical networking infrastructure. So the bottom layer is just the hardware layer. Then on top, you see the software layer where the VMware, the software definition of virtualization sit on top of this hardware layer. The vSphere or ESXi hypervisor is just the abstract way of or virtualization layer that basically abstract the physical compute resources underneath the hood. Then we have the vSAN, which is the software-defined storage that virtualizes the pool physical storage. Thanks, Prasad, for pointing that. That makes a big difference. And then we have the NSX, which is the software-defined networking that virtualizes the network resources. So we have the hardware layer and then the software sitting on top of it. And then there is a virtual hardware layer in the middle, which shows virtualized compute, memory, storage, and network resources, right? And then there is a management layer, which was the previous question was talking about the vCenter. The centralized management platform for entire vSphere environment is done by the vCenter server. And obviously the VMs or virtual machines are, they each have their own operating system running independently on the shared physical infrastructure, right? So the key concept this diagram is trying to demonstrate is you're creating a software-defined data center or a layer on top of your physical resources that abstract and pool, allow multiple virtual machines to share the same physical resources while providing isolation. So if one runs into a problem, doesn't affect the other VM. So we have vSphere, NSX, vSAN, and ESXi. Remember that it may come handy for the follow-up questions.
and the knowledge check too.
Yeah, and the knowledge check, yes.
Okay, with that, let's move to the next slide. How do we map VMware to AWS native technology?
Yeah, good transition. So if you look at it, the management layer, the VMware vCenter and NSX manager correspond basically when you migrate things, it corresponds to the AWS management console, right? And that EC2 that you see is basically the virtual machine in the VMware environment is equivalent to our Elastic Compute or EC2. The networking layer, which is the NSX logical switch, basically maps to our Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, or VPC for short, which provides similar network isolation and management to NSX for VMware. And as far as the storage, there are different type of storage for vSphere cluster that have vSAN correspond to it. It can translate, depending on the use case, to an EBS, which is an attached volume to EC2 or the virtual machines, or it can be a file share such as FSX. And then the physical infrastructure, the bottom layer, is basically mapped to the infrastructure, which I think this diagram, it demonstrates that the customer on top still interact at a very high level, and they're kind of isolated about what's going on. And it emphasizes that underlying migration doesn't affect the customer experience or the user experience. Anything that I missed, Prasad, that you want to add?
No, you covered it well, actually. All right. Let's see how much of this has been grasped by
Sure.
our audience
Let's see.
in
Yeah.
the next slide, in the question. But yeah, again, if you're new to this whole concept, then we understand that in 2 slides, you'll not be able to become an expert of VMware basics and how it maps to AWS. So we'll be sharing resources after it for you to read on. And even if you go to YouTube and just search for VMware basics, VMware fundamentals, you'll be able to get a quick, half an hour overview where you will be able to understand. So I personally do not come from a VMware background. I come from a more Microsoft workloads background. But yeah, I ramped up on this pretty quickly over the last years. Okay, cool. What does ESXi represent in VMware architecture? I think, Tabby, you explained it really well. Let's see. 15 more seconds for people to answer. 10 more seconds. Okay, we got around 80 people answering.
Good job.
Hypervisor for server virtualization is the right answer. Yes, that's
Awesome.
exactly
Right.
true. Yeah.
That's right. It's basically, if you want to explain it in a simple term, as I explained, it just kind of let the one physical server run many virtual compute, right? And it gets installed directly into the server, act as a referee if you're like playing sports, dividing up the server CPU, RAM, storage, and everything to make sure everybody gets their fair share. So good job. 53 correct answers.
Yeah. Cool. Let's move to the next one. I see DD1 climbing on the top, then Ratnesh, then SJ. Great job. What's the relationship between vSphere and vCenter? And I know that people get confused between this, so that's why this question. Okay, we have got more answers than last time, and 79% of you answered it right. Yay!
Yeah, it's the management platform, manages vSphere. Awesome.
Awesome. Great. Let's go to the next question. And I think now we'll be jumping into the second section, which is the VMware migration pathways. The first section was about VMware fundamentals. Now let's talk about, if you have the VMware workloads on-prem, what are the pathways that we have to migrate them to AWS? Right. So, Tabby, go for it.
Yeah, sure. So at AWS, we always work backward from our customer needs, right? And we always provide so many options because it's good to have multiple options, right? And as you can see, this diagram, I start from the bottom. The first option is Amazon EVS, right? Which is the first party or AWS offering. It's an easy ramp to elasticity and basically scale. Come in your VMware environment. If you're married to the VMware environment and you don't want to rehost or replatform, that's the way of extending it to AWS and take advantage of AWS native services. We have a slide coming on that, so I'm not going to emphasize too much on that. The second option is obviously rehosting it on Amazon EC2. And I think the main component of this session is we get into AWS Transform and how that would accelerate this rehosting. Again, it comes with benefit because infrastructure costs will be reduced, your licensing costs, and it gives you an advantage of scalability and resiliency on the cloud, right? Another option is replatforming for the type of application that are compatible and you can replatform and move them to a container, either ECS, Elastic Container Service, or Elastic Kubernetes Service. Those are also a good candidate or a good option, one of the pathways. For the databases, managed services, let's say if you had a relational database running on VMware, a good option, if it's compatible, would be going to RDS, right? Or if you were using a file share, a good option would be using some of the managed services like Amazon FSx on AWS. And then if you want to step further and completely refactor and go cloud native, those applications can completely be rewritten and run on Lambda serverless, as an example. We also have a couple of other options, like for the workload that cannot come out of your data centers, let's say for latency or SLA issue, we have an option for Outpost, where you're still have an advantage of being connected to AWS services, but it looks like having AWS services on-prem. And then we also have two partners, depending on the use case, Nutanix Cloud Cluster on AWS or NC2, which allows customer to move their VMware workload into a Nutanix format to AWS. And we have the Red Hat OpenShift service, or ROSA for short, if it can be a good candidate. So as you can see, we have multiple options, and depending on the assessment and criteria, we give our customers or end users an option to pick the best end platform for the migration journey.
Yes, thanks, Tabby, for giving the overview.
Sure.
Again, each of these pathways in itself is quite in depth, right? We'll be focusing today on EC2, mostly because we're talking about AWS Transform when we will dive deep, but we'll also touch upon EVS. And then in the coming weeks, that is week 5 and 6, that's when we'll be talking about modernization, where we'll be talking about the containerization and serverless and the whole refactoring part of it in the week 5 and week 6. Right. So with that, let's dive deep into the questions. Let's see if we have more slides. So we have another slide.
Yeah, I think this is like more of a typical migration journey or the transformation journey we see with customers. The phase 1 is probably 50% of your workload still needs to run on VMware. So the option would be EVS, which is Elastic VMware on AWS. 50% are compatible. You can rehost it on EC2. Phase 2, that after you've done that and you're fully on AWS, you revisit, right? And then you decide, okay, 20% or 30% of the EVS still can come out, and you can re-platform, go to containers or managed services. And the journey continues. Phase 3, again, it's not a magical bullet that happens overnight. It needs assessment, thorough analysis, application compatibility. And as you can see towards the phase 3, and it might be a phase 4 and 5 in certain cases, you're more into containers, managed services, and serverless and cloud native, and you only have like 5% remaining in EVS. The goal is to come off of VMware and just be compatible and running on the cloud, which will cost, it's cost effective, and it helps with operational efficiencies.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Thanks. Yeah, exactly. So as Tabby mentioned, obviously these numbers are just
an estimate. Yeah.
Exactly, just an estimate. Think of this as more of an X and a Y kind of stuff. But depending upon customer to customer, what we have seen is that if they are fully on their VMware, then while migrating, there might be some workloads which, because of XYZ reasons, cannot be migrated to EC2 directly, and they might be having a tight timelines in terms of data center exit or something like that. In that case, VMware to VMware migration with EVS on AWS would be the faster, but there might be few workloads which can be easily migrated to EC2, so that can be the split. And once they are on AWS and data center exit has happened, that's when you start iteratively modernizing them to containers, managed platforms, depending upon if it's database to RDS or Aurora, so on and so forth. Right? Cool. So with that, let's go to testing some knowledge. Which VMware migration pathway follows the relocate migration strategy? Relocate, right? So which one is relocate? It is directly from the slide. So let's see.
You just talked about it.
Yep, most of you got it right, which is Amazon EVS, which is the relocate strategy. Cool. Next, move on to the next one. Which migration approach is recommended for modern apps? Okay, we got more than 100 people answering. And the right answer is refactor, right? Most of you got it right, but I see a lot of people thinking about it as a replatform also. Replatforming is onto the managed services. Refactoring is when you actually refactor them to the cloud native, right? Tabby, do you want to add anything?
No, that's it. You summarized it. Refactoring, it was the last step in our migration pathway where you actually rewrite and re-architect the application, right? So you're not obligated to keep the legacy. You can run it as a serverless or, other cloud native services. I agree with you. Replatform is more about using managed services or ECS, EKS.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's move ahead. We have a lot of content still to cover. So if you see here, we are in 15 or 34. That's how much we need to cover. And then there is a demo also. So let's speed it up. True or false? Simple question. AWS MGN migration service can be used to migrate VMware workloads to Amazon EVS. It's true or false?
And this is assuming the participant joined the last week, right? Which we had a deep dive on MGN. So
yes, exactly. Okay, so seems like some explanation is needed here.
yeah, so if you remember from last week, our application migration service or MGN is used to kind of migrate, right, and rehost any legacy, including the VMware, into EC2, right? So that's applicable for that case. EVS, as Ashish, Prasad was explaining, it's basically an offering that allows to bring your VMware workload, right? The same way it's running on-prem almost, to run it natively on AWS. This is more of a relocate scenario, right? And this is the case that you don't want to rehost and you don't want to re-platform. You want to bring it as is for so many reasons, right? It gives you scalable resources because you brought them into cloud. It has native integration with AWS services, and it gives you a consistent VMware experience across your on-premises and cloud. Specifically, if there's a skill gap or the people that they're managing your VMware on-prem, now they're responsible for managing it on cloud, there wouldn't be a huge gap, right?
Yeah,
Some of the
exactly.
benefits, right, are the hybrid cloud deployment, as we talked about, reducing operational costs. And Prasad, if you want to talk about some use cases, probably when do we use EVS, that would be a good
Yes, so,
point.
and we'll come to it when we have the EVS section in the slide.
Right.
Here, for people to understand, is that MGN is mainly to migrate to Amazon EC2.
Mm-hmm.
EVS is a VMware environment on AWS. So in case if you're doing a VMware to VMware migration, you can use VMware native tools like you have HCX and vMotion. I will not be getting into those, but just read about them more in the materials that we'll be sending. You can continue using the existing tools to do the migration. All right. When you are changing the environment, that is moving from away from VMware and moving on to Amazon EC2, that's where AWS MGN comes into picture. Cool. Let's go to the next slide, which I believe, if I'm not wrong, should be the section for Elastic VMware service, right? Okay. So, and I'll let Tabby first talk
No,
about.
go ahead, Prasad. I think I explained. The only thing I wanted to say, the use cases would be, you can also, one of the option is exiting data center, right? You bring VMware to VMware, it's going to run similar to what it was running on prem. Some customer use cases use that as a hybrid extension, right? Like they bring the disaster recovery aspect of it running on EVS, or dev and test environment can come where production remains on-prem. Prasad, back to you if you want to add.
No, the use cases that you mentioned was exactly the same. And actually, I put that one question in the knowledge check also for them to get the badge on exactly what you mentioned about, and the question was about select all that apply, that what are the use cases or, where Amazon EVS would be beneficial for the customer. But as you can see, if you have a customer data center on-prem, you will be able to move them onto AWS. It runs on AWS global infrastructure, and the deployment methods, you can use CloudFormation or AWS CLI or SDK. The idea for the VMware on AWS, which is Amazon EVS, was for the customers to have a seamless experience for people who have been running VMware on their on-prem, as well as who have experience with AWS. It's the best of both worlds. If there's a customer only on VMware and they want to move on to AWS, they will be able to run this EVS environment using the similar tools as they have, like SCDC Manager, vSphere, vSAN, and NSX. They will be in the VMware world with VMware Cloud Foundation as a way which bundles all these different components of VMware and provides for the user. And in case if they are a AWS native customer, they would be able to easily use the services that they are familiar with, like Amazon EC2 and S3 and RDS and all of those things seamlessly with Amazon EVS, right? So yeah, we previewed it, I believe, earlier this year in Q1 end or Q2, early Q2, right? It's been few months now. It is in general availability. I think the preview happened during the reInvent, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, there's a lot to explore in Amazon EVS, and we will be sharing with you materials on that about how you can explore it further. With that, let's see if we have a question on, yeah, VCF, right? Okay, seems like I did a bit of that. Let's see. Okay, yes. Forget this only virtualization capabilities here. Just think about the question as, what is VMware Cloud Foundation primarily designed to provide? Which of this is the right answer? Only around 47 people were able to answer this. I can understand this might be a new topic for a lot of people, but yes, VMware Cloud Foundations is actually an integrated software stack combining compute, storage, networking, and the cloud management. With that, let's move on to the next question. Which is the following is the foundation layer in Amazon EVS architecture? Ten more seconds for people to answer. Yes, most of you got it right. VMware Cloud Foundation, but I see there's a good mix of other things also. So yeah, Cloud Foundation is the basic foundational layer, and VCF includes vSphere, SDTC, and other, all the components that make up a VMware environment. They're all bundled into VMware Cloud Foundation, and they're shipped together.
We had a slide, previous one, that will kind of depicting
Yes,
the layers and the components. So if
yeah,
somebody needs to go back and review, that's a good
let me see
opportunity.
if I can do that. I just don't want.
No, it's okay. I guess that was for the audience. Later
Yeah,
on, they can replay.
yes.
Yeah, that's it. So
Yes, VMware Cloud
that
Foundation. And
includes
if you
all
see,
the other components. Yes.
yes. Okay, let's go further and click on next here. Yes, okay. And then the final topic, right? AWS Transform. How are we doing on time? Okay, we need to speed up a little bit because I want to cover it well in the demo also. Next quiz. What is the main person of AWS Transform? If people have heard about AWS Transform, let's see if they'll be able to get it right. It is used for backup solutions, AI-based recovery service, recovery, disaster recovery, network security, or migrating and modernizing workloads. Yes. Okay. Most people seems to have got it right, which is, yes, AWS Transform is a service for migrating and modernizing workloads. Salim leading it, and then we have Preetham and Anu and Jake and Kumari. Okay. Tabby, go for it.
I can take that. Yeah. So the AWS Transform, you were right. Most of you answered that correctly. It comes in different flavors, right? There's a .NET, there's a mainframe, but this specific today's topic is on AWS Transform for VMware, which is an agentic AI-based approach for VMware modernization, right? And we talked about it. It kind of rehosts the VMware on Amazon EC2. And the beauty of it is it's using a purpose-built AI agent that automate and simplify the end-to-end transformation, right? Streamline the whole migration process and significantly reducing cost and time, right? Because, and we go through the demo and you see what it takes, because translating the network component on VMware into the construct of AWS. If you want to do that manually, it's time consuming, right? So the beauty of this agentic solution is it takes care of all the translation, and we go through a slide and I explain more. It's an end-to-end solution, cost effective, time saving. And, at the end of the day, the real benefit would be eliminating the licensing fee and reducing the operational overhead too, right? And obviously, when you come to the cloud, the security enhanced, you're more resilient, you have access to 200 services. So that's the gist of it. I think we have more slides to dive deep, unless if you want to touch base on .NET and mainframe, Prasad.
Yes, very quickly. At this point, AWS Transform has 4 different flavors. One is assessment, which helps you build the business case for migration. VMware tab you already mentioned. Then we have VMware, which is help you to modernize your IBM ZOS applications. And .NET helps you modernize your .NET framework applications, which can run only on Windows to the latest version of .NET, also known as .NET Core. But yeah, it's .NET 8, which is the latest version of .NET. And so that you can run those on Linux, because the latest version of .NET is cross-platform and open source. So you can do that. So yes, these different agentic AIs that will help you work on those specific workloads to help you migrate and modernize. As I mentioned, we will dive deep today specifically on a VMware aspect of AWS Transform. Cool. Let's go to the next section and very quick. Which of the following is not supported by AWS Transform? Directly from the slide before.
Yes.
10 more seconds.
Okay. Oh. So the assessment aspect, the first version in the previous slide was to estimate the cost running on-prem, right? So it definitely covers that one. The VMware, we talked about it. The IBM is the version ZOS of the mainframe that actually AWS Transform for mainframe is capable of documenting, translating that, and then the .NET we discussed. So I think the only one that was correct was the EVS. Remember, EVS was VMware to VMware versus AWS Transform is bringing your VMware and legacy to EC2. So that was a tricky one.
That was a tricky one, specifically so that people do understand. And that is why we are reinforcing it again and again.
Right.
So MGN, as I mentioned, is going to move your VMware workloads to EC2. AWS Transform, as you'll see in further slides, is built as an agentic AI, which uses these services to do those migrations, and that will help you move to Amazon EC2. Amazon EVS is a VMware solution on AWS. Using AWS Transform, you will be able to move to Amazon EC2, not EVS. If you are moving to EVS, then you can use the VMware native migration tools as they provide. Right? Okay, cool. Let's continue. And this is where we'll talk about VMware agent architecture.
Yeah, this one and the next slide, I think they kind of go hand in hand. I think I kind of touched based on that. It's an agentic AI solution. And as you can see, it's walking through a workflow, right? It starts with connecting to your existing on-prem VMware environment. And we have different options to do that. Application discovery or ADS is one way to use and leverage. This agent would use ADS to connect and kind of get an inventory of what's existing there, right? You have different options too. If ADS is not an option, you can always upload a flat file, which is RV Tools export, right? Import, export, and use that. But there are advantages. We can get into the more detail of using ADS. And then it analyzes the workloads and dependencies, specifically when you use the ADS, because it kind of helps with the wave planning and put different applications that belong together into a move group that helps with the wave planning. And I'm telling you, if you want to do these manually, it takes months, specifically if you're dealing with thousands of servers, to put them in different move groups. I've done it myself, and this is like a time lifesaver. and then it assesses the readiness. And then another aspect of this is network conversion or translation, right? It takes care of translating the VMware network construct to AWS, and then eventually it uses the MGN or application migration service underneath the hood, which is all automated. There's no manual intervention, not at the moment, involved. You can get involved as a human in the loop to review all the changes, to modify things as needed, but usually it's an end-to-end process, and it will take care of the migration and rehosting things onto EC2.
Yes.
And I think the next slide is, if I don't know if the next one, if there's, yeah, this one is exactly talking about how it starts with discovery and data ingestion. It can be an RV tools flat file you upload, or it can be an RDS that connects to your environment. We also work with other partner discovery tools. Then based on the information and network connectivity and how these servers are communicating, it determines the wave and move groups, which is lifetime saving. Then it takes care of network conversion and translation. We have a more detailed slide talking about what network topologies are supported for both source and the target. Then uses MGN to do the migration. And then everything is kind of consolidated. You have a central dashboard that you can collaborate, you can bring other people, and you can look at the status and the progress, and also human in the loop. Because as part of the process, it also creates some CDK or cloud formation, which you have an option to download, modify, upload. So there's a beauty of, like, it's not eliminating us, it's just doing undifferentiated heavy lifting work, and then we go as an advisor and supervisor to make sure it's doing the right thing. So I think Prasad, if I'm not wrong, we've proven that to be 80 times faster, specifically if we use a certain aspect of the network translation versus doing it manually.
See, a lot of these things, especially these two, right? Like, we do have a tool for ADS, which this particular agent is going to call on your behalf, and you can configure that. And for VMware migration and deployment, we do have MGN. But these two are the major, like, differentiators, because wave planning is what is being done manually as of now, which is quite time consuming, as Tabby mentioned. And the network conversion, again, mapping network, VMware network onto AWS network. If you remember the slide where Tabby has mapped the VMware services onto AWS, there was NSX on the VMware side. On AWS, we have Amazon VPC. Like, converting those is a time consuming. So yes, getting these things automated helps customers a lot.
And it's end to end, right? You do,
Yes.
It's like you don't, it's just more of a job that you send to the queue, and it takes care. I'm done with this. I verify that, go to the next step, that's the ease of end to end seamless migration, which I really love.
Yes, we do have a demo for it. Let's see how much time we'll be able to spend
get to
on
that, hopefully. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, quick quiz. What does the human oversight play in the AWS Transform migration process? Yep, most of you got it, right? 18 of you says it is fully automated. That's not the case. It can be automated, but it is supervised by the humans. Like, you need to actually approve. It will show you that this is what I've discovered. This is what we are going to group in the waves and stuff. We'll see in the demo, but you as a human needs to approve it before you let machine do everything for you.
Now, I think we had a bunch of software developers in the call. If you remember, you do a committed change, and then you do a pull request, right? And you have your peer review that, right? It's similar scenario. It's doing some translation for you, it's doing some prep work, but it wants you to verify and approve that. So we definitely have the human in the loop, which increase the accuracy of what it's doing, rather than blindly fully automated takes care of the migration for you.
It's true. Okay, going to the next question. Again, I'm going to rush here.
Yeah, let's go faster. We have 11 minutes left. Yeah.
Yes. Double points. What is not a transform for AWS for a transform for VMware feature?
Good job.
Good job.
Awesome. Yeah, that is something that we don't natively support. Our VPS is more of a layer 3 construct. There are ways to do that, but that's the last resort. So since we're running out of time, I'm not going to focus on that. But there are ways, if that's a requirement, we have our partner Nutanix that can take care of that through their tooling. But seems like everybody got it right. Good job.
Yeah, and they might have got it by the elimination also, because these three were present and this was not present. In case if you are new to extending layer 2 subnets, do read about it. All of you should be knowing about the OSI layers, right? The 7 layers
Right.
that you have. So do read about extending layer 2 subnets. That's really important in a lot of cases when you are doing a deep dive networking setup in migrations.
Yeah, at the end, if you have extra time after the demo, I can touch base on it a little bit. But let's go through this. I don't want to,
Yeah. Okay, now network conversion.
Yeah, so we talked about this kind of briefly touch base. The source environment, there are two options that we support. We talked about a VMware vSphere, which is the RV tools that you can export and import into ATX or AWS Transform. But if the VMware is using NSX, then we have an option to import, export NSX. The target topology on AWS, we have hub and spoke and isolated VPCs. And the agent, when we talked about the network conversion and translation, we were talking about translating components construct to VPC and subnet on AWS, elastic IPs, routes, route table, NAT gateway, internet gateway. Security group and ACL is also happening only through the NSX import or export file. So if you're doing an RV2 export to do that, probably security group and ACLs are not part of it, but the remaining are being translated through the AWS Transform.
Yes, that's true. And we'll talk about it in a bit more detail when we look at the demo. So we do have a couple of more questions, but that we'll come back to it after the demo. And for the demo, let me bring it up. Now, again, this is something that we use, the demo we use with our customers to enable them, and you'll be able to find them on just Google AWS Transform VMware, the homepage. In the homepage main, you'll be able to get this link. So later on, if you want to run the demo on your own, you can do it. Obviously, you can watch this recording, but in case if you want to do it on your own, you can do it. Explore the interactive demo. There'll be 4 chapters to it. We'll start with the first one, which is prerequisites, and we'll start with the demo. No, for the prerequisites, we'll send you, and I'll also show you the workshop, which you can walk through. When I say walk through, you can walk through in terms of reading, but you'll not be able to do it in your own account because it's available only via the AWS workshops. But you can always, read through it and understand it. And I'll show how the prerequisites are set up there. But let's start the demo here and see. The first thing first, this is how the AWS Transform looks like when you get access to it. You can go to AWS console and you can explore AWS Transform from the management console, and you'll be able to access it. There are few steps that you need to do, like create a user with Identity Management Center, Identity Center. And again, we'll send you the links for you to set it up. But once you log in, this is not AWS Management Console. This is a separate console altogether, which is AWS Transform. And first, you'll be able to create a workspace where you can do the migration or modernization, right? So click on Create Workspace, and you can obviously edit the name to use whatever name you would like. Like, for example, here, click through Demo and Submit. So this is your workspace. And in that workspace, you'll be able to add collaborators. Obviously, when you're doing a migration or a modernization, it's not a one-person job. There might be multiple people who would be interested in actually, looking through of what's happening and contribute to it. So you'll be able to add collaborators. And while adding collaborators, you will have different kinds of roles. You can be a contributor, you can be administrator, approver, just view only, right? So you'll be able to add different people with different kinds of permissions. And then once you do it, then the first thing, you would be able to kind of, create a job using this Transform. The first job it creates, it says that I'm an AI assistant, which is going to help you with your transformation process. You already created a workspace. Within the workspace, you can create multiple jobs, right? Each of the job can be a transformation job. To get started, choose a transformation you want to work on. As we mentioned, remember, there were 4 ways. One was estimate the cost, which is like your assessment. The second was the VMware, which we are going to look into today. Then we have mainframe, then we have .NET. So you can choose which job do you want to create. In a workspace, you can have multiple jobs. You can do assessment as well as migration, as well as modernization. Let's create a VMware migration job. So once you create that, it says that, okay, I'm happy to help you with a VMware migration. Now you can tell me whether you want to do an end-to-end migration, or you want to do network migration only, you want to do only network or server migration, or just the discovery part, right? We're going to do an end-to-end migration. So I'm going to do a yes, and I'm going to create a job for it. Now, this is the, once you get a job, this is how the landing page of the job looks like, right? So again, here you can edit the job name is EVMware to EC2 migration. And then you can, the job plan is combined efforts of human and generative AI. So this is always important. Like you will always see humans collaborating, right? If you see here, it's human awaiting human input. So we'll talk about it in a moment. Work log. So if you see, there are three parts. One is collaboration. This is where you collaborate with the AI agent, the humans. Then, and anywhere when you see awaiting human input, this is where you need to go and check what input you need to provide. Work log is where it will show you all the work item that has been done by you as well as the AI agent. And then this is when you need to specific action send to AWS Transform. Dashboard tab is when once you start the migration, it will show you what's the status of the migration. Work log, as I mentioned, work log is where you see all the items that has been performed, all the work changes logs that has been performed by the agent as well as you as a human. Cool. Now, the first thing first is create or select connectors. Now we go to chapter 2, which is discovery and planning. So that was setting up the environment to do the actual migration. The first step in the migration, as Tabby has shown in the slide and explained it, is discovery, right? So let's do the discovery. So for doing the discovery, you need to add a connector to a AWS account where the discovery data would be stored. I will talk about how the data discovery would be, provided. But let's first add a connector for the AWS account. The account is existing discovery and planning. So you create up to 5 discovery account connections per user. You click on it, you provide your account, and then you provide the region. Click on next. Then it asks you to encrypt, and again, obviously, you can create your own and provide your own KMS key, or you can use the default Amazon S3 key, right? And then you click on it, and that's how you create the bucket. And once you create, you will not be getting automatic access. Like your AWS Transform will not be able to access automatically unless there is a explicit permission that has been provided. And once that's a link, and when you open the link, you would be able to provide the explicit link. So you click on approve, and once you approve, then the connector would be finalized, and you would be having an S3 bucket where all the data would be stored. When I say stored, which data is stored? The discovery data. Now, there are two ways to get the discovery data. One is application discovery service. These collectors will gather the data that can be used in EC2 recommendation and wave. You can set up the collectors here. Or the other option is, as Tabby mentioned, you can upload a RV tools. So RV tools is something that is provided by VM in the VMware environment. You can export the whole setup of the VMware environment in a file called RV tools file, which is mostly the Excel sheet, and then you can import that data, and that provides information about your VM, CPU, memory disks, network configuration, snapshots, and host information. So you can upload that here. So either through ADS or here, and you upload that and you select click continue. Once that is done, then you can review the on-prem data for discovery. All right. So once you provided that, now it shows here. Now there are two things. One, now this is being mentioned very clearly here that if you are using ADS collector, then you can do agent as well as agentless. You can do either. But these steps, otherwise, what will happen is that you'll have to do the wave planning manually. And I'll show that in a moment. So we continue with the existing data. We uploaded the RV tools, which says that it has 355 servers, but it's not able to understand the dependencies of it. So we're going to do continue with the existing data without providing the network connection data, which would have been available if you have configured ADS. Remember what was covered in week 1, application discovery service, that provides all the data. Right. So I'll continue with existing data, which is the only RV tools exports. And once I do that and click on generate waves, it will be able to actually, when I show you the waves, but that file would be empty in terms of grouping the applications into the waves. So that whole information is bundled into a file which you can download and then edit it manually to upload. As the AWS data would have been present, then actually you would be able to kind of look into this uh, and make edits. But if it is not present, what we are going to do is we are going to edit it manually, add the information, and provide it back to the system. So here, this is how we're going to put it. Like, these are app one, this is wave one, this is app two, wave one, and then we can move them to wave two if needed, and then upload the waves to the AWS Transform. I know we are on time, but I'm going to take 5 more minutes and we're going to cut short the behavioral track. Sorry, Nabil and Karna, but we need to continue with that demo here. And we upload the file migration and then we click on continue here. So once we uploaded the wave information, which is the grouping, then what we're going to do next is we're going to talk about the target. So we have information about the source now, right? Like what all applications were there, what are servers were there, and how they are grouped, and we provide the waves. Now let's talk about the target where we are going to deploy it. And for that, we're going to create and select another, which is the provisioning chapter. Let's go there, create and select connectors. Now this is, if you say connect target AWS account, this is where the deployment would happen. So you're going to obviously provide the AWS account name and the region, click on next. Again, there will be a S3 bucket. So you're going to provide permission to it, copy the verification link, and follow the same process to approve it so that you are able to get the connection. Once the connection is done, that's when you'll be able to import the network data. Again, there are 2 ways to do it. One, as Ravi mentioned, NSX file, or your normal RV tools export. So when I click on next, it's going to translate and deploy additional VPC. So it has an option to deploy to your existing VPC. It has discovered already how many VPC it has, and you can either translate to external existing VPC or deploy on a new VPC. So we're going to do a new VPC here. Upload the file, again, RV tools or NSX. If you have NSX, it will be able to build the security groups also. Upload the file, and once you upload it, select which particular file you would like to do, and then click on next. And again, once you're talking about the deployment strategy, it can be either hub and spoke or it can be isolated VPCs. So depending upon your situation, you can think about which one you would like to select. And if you're not aware of what hub and spoken as well VPCs are, do check one of our playlists of the previous batches where we dive deep into the AWS networking a lot, and then you'll be able to understand these architectures. Click on next and then generate the VPC configuration. And while generating VPC configuration, there is a possibility at some points that it does provide you with a cloud formation template to create the whole VPC structure for yourself. You can obviously download that, modify and deploy the network on your own. You can download it, make the changes, and deploy it on your own, or you can simply, ask AWS Transform to do it on your behalf, right? Like outsourcing it. So AWS Transform is going to deploy it, and while deploying, it might run into service quota. If that happens, it will go. You can directly go to the AWS console from the AWS Transform, and then you can kind of increase the quota. As you can see, there are quotas per region is 5. You might want to increase it, so you can increase the quota value, and then you can talk. Here, there's a readout about the other networking construct that you might want to consider. So once you do that, you can click on continue, and then in the VPC dashboard, you'll be able to see the new VPCs that has been created. So we have now the target structure there. Now it's about starting the migration. Now here, if you see that VMware migration is done via MGN. The last part, deployment, they are going to use application migration service, right? And that we have covered in depth in the previous session. Click on next, you'll be able to set up the service so that AWS Transform is connected to MGN, and you'll be able to pass on the data and do it. Now you can see that depending upon the wave plan that you uploaded there, it's going to create those waves, and you can start with any of the wave that you would like, and obviously name them differently, right? Like a wave application name X, a wave application X2, or so on and so forth. You can start the deployment of the servers to the waves and click on here. First, it sets up the EC2 recommendation preference that you would like it to be a current server specification, maximum utilization, average utilization, percentage of utilization. Based on it, it provides you a recommendation of which EC2 instance you would like to select, and then you can do that. And then again, you can do it as a shared extension or dedicated. Let me see. It's like, yeah, shared instance or dedicated instance. Again, based on your requirements, you can choose that. And then you can generate the EC2 configurations. Once you generate the EC2 configurations, then you can choose the engine connector, and where you will be able to look at the waves. This is the waves that is going to be done, number of servers for each of the wave. Click on the applications, and then you can download the inventory, and you can make any changes in the dashboard. You'll be able to see that, okay, these many servers in scope, these many applications in scope. So there are 11 applications running across 81 servers, and they are grouped in 4 waves. And then, you can see the progress at the end. When you are able to complete it, you'll be able to see a status like this. That's pretty much that I had to cover on the demo. I know we are a bit over time, so what I'll do is that any questions on these, obviously feel free to put it on the Discord channel. But what we will do is that we will create or provide an extensive list of resources for you to go through. Now, this particular topic is very huge, and it's very difficult to cover it within an hour, right?
We may need a follow-up, exactly, because I see questions coming up. We can respond via an email. There are different ways that you can use ADS, agentless versus agent-based. There are advantages of using the agent-based. We can share that article with you. And the last question that was shared, yes, the Transform uses MGN underneath the hood, and it creates those launch templates, but you have to be involved. It takes you to the MGN, and same thing that you used MGN before, it would be the same process. We will respond to all these questions probably in an organized email, Prasad, if you agree. So
yes,
we cover all, and we had a couple of questions left, and I think maybe the layer 2 extension too, that is something that we can cover in detail via an email.
Yes, that's true. So this can be a batch in itself, very frankly. Like, it's a topic that we run with our customers for very long. But yeah, with that, I believe we should bring Nabil and Parna onto the screen. Nabil and Parna, you folks ready? I see Parna already there. Let me see how I can add them to stage. Parna and then Nabil. Let me stop my screen share. Hey Nabil, hey Parna, thank you so much.
Hey everyone.
Hello.
Okay, so I'll let you folks roll through. Me and Tabby will go off camera, and yeah, go for it.
Awesome, thanks.
And Nabil, would you like to share your slide? Then Prasad can put it on the screen.
Sure. So we're gonna start by just giving an overview about how we go through discoveries. Yeah. So just to give an overview for any discovery meeting when we go with the customer. So if there are a lot of kind of the back of everyone's mind that a lot of things we should prepare for prior to the meeting, during the meeting, and then after also the meeting, right? So for any discovery, it doesn't have to be only for migration. In any workload, we want to learn more about like the customer environment. Think about it like when you go to a doctor, right? And then the doctor is trying to understand what are your symptoms, what are you feeling. So you start to ask more questions like, okay, you have like a headache. Okay, when it happens, why? If it's morning and night, like, is there anything to trigger? So it's basically you're trying to diagnose what is going on. It's the same for any discovery call. So you don't know what is going on in the customer environment, and you don't know what is it or how it looks like. You're trying to ask these questions to uncover what is going on in that environment. So we kind of summarize it in these 6 different bullets, and they are not like after each other. They can happen in any time. You can ask questions from anywhere at any time, but the only thing happen is like the pre-meeting. If let's say that your sales leader come and tell you that we have a meeting with a specific customer, we want to understand that how their migration looks like, how their portfolio looks like, and how can we help them migrate and why, and all of these questions. So you like from like kind of when someone asks you this, then you should ask a question, right? Do we have any documentation to learn about this customer a little bit? Do we know anything about them? Do we have data, or this is the first meeting ever? You can also go and check online. Okay, who are these customers? What are the use cases? Which industry are they? And then learn a little bit about this customer to understand how can you help them. And then also who will be joining that meeting if there's, okay, now we are having the meeting set up. Okay, are the technical people, are the business people, are both? So to make sure that you are addressing or like asking the right questions, right? And then it will help a lot if this is your first meeting and then you didn't see this customer before, and then you start to have kind of prepared questions. Cheat sheet will help a lot. Asking, you don't have to go through the same exact questions during the meeting. You don't have to read it. You just ask yourself a question. Okay, what do you want to learn from the customer? So you can start to asking, okay, I want to learn about the environment. I want to learn about how the portfolio looks like and all of this, and ask specific questions, write down. It will help kind of stream your thoughts. And then when now we prepare everything, everything's ready. So we start to go through the work assessment, technical dive deep, migration strategy, documentation, all of the operations. So we go through all of this. So you want to understand what is the inventory. When we say that the inventory from infrastructure, think about it, about like if someone come and ask you, okay, you have your workload, right? You have pants, you have t-shirts. Someone come and ask you how many pants and how many t-shirts you have. You'll not know off the top of your head. You might go say, okay, let me go and check. And you might know if you just have 1 or 2. So it depends on the size of the customer environment. So you might say that, oh, we have just 100 of VMs or databases. And you might say that, oh, we have 1,000. We don't really know how much exactly. We have a tool which collects all of this inventory to know how many we have. And then so that's basically from inventory point of view, like how many servers do you have, how old are these servers, how often do you refresh these servers, after usually from 3 to 5 years, it depends on the support, what the customer buy from the hardware vendor. Do you have to refresh the hardware because it gets old? Think about like you update, like kind of you buy a new phone or iPhone or Samsung every 1 or 2 or 3 years. So why? Because it gets old, the battery is dying all the time, so you have to change that. So it's the same thing for any hardware or laptop or anything. After that, okay, you want to understand how this inventory looks like, right? What is the dependency about it? What is the application look like? What is the database looks like? What are security? Do you want to understand the business case? When we call about business case, like why you're moving and why, what are the motive we are trying to get out from moving to cloud or AWS, right? And it's like how much it costs on running that workload on AWS versus running it in on-prem environment or your data center. So this is very important for the customer, maybe from not technical point of view, but from the kind of financial, the CFO office always want to know how much they're going to spend on running this workload on cloud to see that if it makes sense to move or not. And then after that, okay, everything is good. Then we want to know that, okay, what is the more technical, that we call it dive deep in this workload. So, okay, we have so many VM infrastructures or VMs. We have so many applications. Let's say we have hundreds of VMs running 5 applications on top of it. Let's pick one of them and then dive deep on that one. Learn more about the architecture, performance, the availability, and all of this. And then once we identify all of these workloads or the applications, then let's see what is the best migration methodology or like strategy we're going to use. 7 hours, everyone I think heard about it so many times so far. And then are you planning to do this migration by yourself? You have a partner to do it, or you want an AWS ProServe team to help you to do migrate it or not? And then you make sure that along of all of this, you have to be documenting every single thing. Because you will have to work with a lot of customers, a lot of teams. It's not only one customer. It would be great if you work only with one customer, but it doesn't really happen often. So you have to document all of this, make sure that you have to keep track for this. Meeting notes, now we have everything AI, like kind of collecting this information for you and summarizing it, which is great. And once you get all of this also, okay, what are the operational and monitoring after you go, like you kind of cut over or migrate everything to AWS? Most of the customers, they think, okay, about this is what we have, this is what you're gonna need, the target architecture, and then how we're gonna do the cutover. And then that's it, but they don't think about beyond the migration. Okay, how can I manage all of this infrastructure at scale? My team is skilled. Do we need to do training? Do we need someone to help us, to support us until we actually learn how to migrate, optimize that, or like run it on AWS? So this is like what we kind of thought about how we can summarize any discovery call. So you need to think about all of it, and it doesn't have to be, you can ask questions about operational support in the first call or the second call. So you need to just to think about it. And then I think that's what we're gonna go through, like a kind of an example on how we do that for one of the discovery calls. And we'll try to, if you have any questions, we'll try to look at the chat and answer meanwhile. Did I summarize that?
I think that was a great overview, Nabil. I think everybody got the overall picture. So now to just do a role play. So I think you've understood the entire process. Now we'll just do a role play where I'll play the customer and Nabil will obviously be the specialist essay. And so you'll understand what actually happens in that meeting and how the conversation flows. So that's what we can start with that, Nabil, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop my sharing then, and then we can go through some of this, and then maybe I will do some white board. I don't know if it will help. It depends on the time what we have. So I'm gonna just share my screen for the whiteboard, and I'll just keep it here. It depends on the speed.
That will be helpful, I think.
Yeah, cool. Then I think I'm ready. If you're ready, Barna.
Yeah, I am.
So, okay, cool. Then I'm gonna start that. Thank you for joining me today. I'm interested to learn a little bit more about your environment, the reason you're moving to, or interested to move to AWS. If you can tell me, like, give me an overview about what you have on-prem today.
Hey, Nabil, thank you for joining me today. And we are considering moving our infrastructure to the cloud. And we have a fairly large and complex infrastructure on premises. And this is getting really costly to maintain every day. And it is reaching our scaling limits. So I really need your help to get into the process of migration. So please let me know how I can give you important points for that.
Awesome, thank you for that. So I'd like to, if you can give me an overview about your current infrastructure, like how many VMs do you have, if it is running on VMware or like Linux, or what kind of virtualization they're using. It's like an overview that will help me just to understand how you operate your infrastructure.
Sure. So mostly we have 3-tiered architecture, and we have web servers, application servers, and databases. And we have around 200 VMs running on VMware in our primary data center. Plus, we also have a smaller disaster recovery site. And most of our applications are running on Windows Server 2016 and 2019. We have a couple of workloads which run on Linux as well. And for databases, we are primarily using SQL Server, and we have a few of them where we are using MySQL as well.
Okay, so thank you. So just to summarize it, that you have 3 tiers application. So I'm just trying to summarize that just to make sure that I understand. So you have the web layer here, and then you have...
Nabil, will you be able to like zoom in a bit or write the font size bigger when you're writing? The boxes are clear, but the text is a bit,
How about now? Okay.
Yeah, this is better.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, and then we have application layer, and you say that you have database, which is
That's right.
Yeah, so you have here database. Yeah, you mentioned that you got SQL servers.
Yes, SQL Server and
Uh-huh.
a couple of MySQL servers as well.
Okay, awesome. So, and then you mentioned also that you are running on another environment, which is like a DR environment for that. Is it the
Yes.
same size for the current environment, or like scaled down environment for
It's
this?
scaled down. It's about 60% reflecting that of the primary one. So it's a smaller version.
Okay, scaled down size as DR. Okay, thank you for that. And then how about your storage requirement? Do we have an overview about what you have as a storage layer?
Yeah, so we have NFS storage, and the total size approximately is 50 terabytes.
Okay, that sounds good. For the numbers, I'm gonna maybe follow up with other questions because we will need to pull all of this inventory from your team. So
Sure.
since you are running VMware, there's an RV tool up with which pull everything for us. That's what help us to understand how you are running.
That'll be good. Yeah.
So we have here an NFS layer that's across your application here. Okay, that's awesome.
Yes.
That sounds good. And then how about like kind of the DR kind of environment? Does it also like have a database for each of this one as a scale environment, or it's just only the databases up and running, or some customer they do both?
So only for our critical applications. So like I said, it's just about 60% mirroring our primary site. Yeah. So only for our critical applications.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, and then you mentioned that for the NFS, for the storage, you have around 50 terabyte. Did I get this right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And then is it all active, or you have a backup also stored in this storage?
So around 15 terabytes is active database, and the remaining is all backup.
So we say 15?
15, 1-5.
Yeah, 15% active, and the rest is backup, right?
Right.
Okay, awesome. This is good. I'm just gonna clean this later. It helped me to put a picture about whatever you're running.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. That's good. And then how about, do you have any other kind of thing outside of this, or shall we jump into the networking piece? Like if I want to understand a little bit about your network infrastructure, how it look like.
Yeah. So yeah, you have more or less covered most things over here. So let's go to the networking part. So for our networking, the backbone for our data center is about 10 Gbps, and the bandwidth to our desktops is about 1 Gbps. We have two redundant internet connections, and which is around 1 Gbps. And a lot of our partners, we connect with them using VPN. There is one major supplier, however, with whom we have a direct connection.
Okay. And then, so just to catch, so you say that 10 GP, and
Yes.
That's, and then 1 GP for your desktop, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. How about other cloud? Do you have any other workload running in different cloud provider?
Yeah, that's good you mentioned that. So we have some AI/ML workloads which is running on GCP. So about 2 years ago, there was mostly a departmental initiative. This was not part of our central IT strategy, and we have about 10 instances running there. For our AI/ML workloads, and this data science team who was managing it, they are also using BigQuery for the analytics part. So kindly give me some suggestions about that also. But as you understand, they've been working on it for the past 2 years, so they have developed expertise on those AI tools.
I see. And then are you interested to also migrate that GCP workload to AWS, or you prefer to keep that there?
So we are open to options. We are evaluating at this stage. if it makes sense to consolidate, if it will be simpler to operate, it will be mostly cost efficient, then we might consider. But like I said, we already have trained team on those AI tools, and we might have to get them into our meeting to discuss about the features and options for that. So we'll try to keep that separate maybe.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll be happy to do that. So we see a lot of customer with this kind of pattern. They have the AI ML running on GCP for BigQuery, especially for BigQuery use cases. Yeah, we will we can build the whole business case moving the on-prem environment and then also the GCP to AWS. It's just different methodology because the on-prem you own your inventory. However, in GCP that we will, it's kind of it's a cloud provider, right? Like AWS. So we will. The discovery is a little bit different, and also pulling the inventory is a little bit different. But
Right. You can let me know the options, and we'll probably, take in the opinion of our data science team as well. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we'll do that. And then I just wanted to understand that from overview, from migration timelines, like are you planning to migrate within the next year, 2 or 3?
Possibly in the next 6 months. So that's the plan, and let's see how it goes. So we'll probably talk about it, how complex it will be once we've had the discovery workshop. Probably it'll make more sense to discuss timelines.
Yeah, in general this is kind of our first call, so we will have multiple calls to go through the whole discovery. And then we'll pull more details. Once we get the inventory for both the on-prem and GCP, we will build kind of like-for-like mapping to AWS, how much it costs to run that overall workload, and we call it total cost of ownership for run, or TCO, to run that workload in AWS. This is kind of the first thing, and then after that, we're gonna do migration planning based on the timelines. We will do either lift and shift or modernization. Right.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then also the other thing we would like to go through is setting up that landing zone. When we say landing zone in AWS, think about it like when we move to a new place, then you need to make sure that, okay, you have a layout for your, like, let's say apartment or house, where you're going to put your furniture or from bed or like sofa or something. So you can set up everything, where the TV will be installed, where is the office room. So this is kind of, when you translate that to AWS, it is basically how the network infrastructure look like, how the like the account structure. There are different kind of naming or like definitions for running a workload on-prem versus cloud. And on-prem also you have everything running in data centers. In AWS we have different naming, different kind of definitions for availability zone and regions, which for DRs. So we're gonna help you setting up all of this AWS accounts, networking setup, how the networking between, if it's like a hub or spoke or like centralized or decentralized networking across AWS. So we'll go through all of this with you, make sure that it meets your requirement, and then after that we'll execute that migration. Whether I forgot to ask that if you're going to plan to do the migration by yourself, or you have a partner in mind you would like us to work with, or we can also recommend the partners from our side too.
Probably you could recommend. We are doing this for the first time, so we are open to any kind of recommendations. But Nabil, now that you were explaining about how we can go about it, I actually missed telling you about our backup and disaster recovery strategy. Let me just tell you about that. Probably that will give you some more data points. So we generally back up to disk initially, and weekly we back up using tape. Our RPO for our non-critical applications is about 24 hours. And we have a couple of critical applications, which I told you about. So we take up backup every 4 hours. It's the same for even RTO. So for the non-critical ones, it's 24 hours. And for a couple of critical ones, it's 4 hours. And so having said that, do you have any suggestions for backup, like what kind of services I can use for backup as well as storage?
Yeah, so just to make sure that I capture that, you mentioned that the RPU is what was the RPU?
So for the critical applications it's 4 hours, and for the non-critical ones it's 24 hours.
Okay, awesome. And in the RTO?
It's the same. critical 4 hours and non-critical 24.
Okay, yeah. So for backup, we have, I'm not sure if you heard about AWS backup service. It's basically centralize your backup across AWS services.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about like managing a specific backup or like kind of an individual service. So you will just enable that backup across multiple services. It will help you to also for restoring point of view. It's a centralized thing. We can also have what we call it immersion days to walk you through walk your team through how we do the backup and how it works across AWS. We definitely can go through that.
Yeah, makes sense. So I'm guessing backup can do things in an automated fashion and the retention, everything we can manage. Great. So I'll look forward to that immersion day that you spoke about. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this. Yeah, I totally forgot about the backup here. And what else might have missed? Let me think about it.
So what are the storage options? Like initially we spoke about that we are using NFS. So what are the different storage options that you have and that would fit into our environment that we spoke about?
Yeah. So if I'm gonna look at, if I see here like a good representation for AWS, we talked just quickly about AWS backup. So I'm gonna say that AWS backup as a backup service, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for storage, we have multiple options, right? So it really depends on what you are looking at from storage. So if you would like to have like a block storage, we have the EVS. Or if you want to have an object storage, what's S3 for the file share storage, we have an NFS or FSX if it is for Windows. So we have multiple options for storage. So I'm going to list them here. We have NFS. We have also FSX for Windows. Yeah. And then also for the S3 for object storage. Usually we're going to use S3 for any kind of static kind of objects, or like some customers also use it for extended backup. AWS backup uses S3 in the backend as a backup service, but it really depends on the application and what we are gonna do during the discovery or what we're gonna find out, right? So we're gonna select one of this based on the application requirement. And yeah, and then for the web layer and application layer, we have multiple options for computing. Either we're going to use EC2. That's actually, I think, most of the people are aware of or heard about EC2. Or also we can use, if you're planning to use containers, or if you're running any containers on-prem, we can use EKS or ECS as a container.
Yeah, we'll probably think about modernizing later. So yeah.
That's as a next step, I would say. We can also modernize some of the workload if they are already running, like ready to be containerized. But if not, then we suggest to move first to kind of EC2, and then after that we do modernization.
Get it.
Yeah, and then to make this easier, so that we would like to set up a kind of for the migration point, if you are going to use MGN to migrate the application layer and web layer to EC2 using AWS MGN. We spoke about MGN earlier, right. And then that's
lift and shift, right, Nabil? Yeah. Okay.
We are gonna do a lift and shift, as you say that. So here, sorry, sometimes I mess using the tool. So we're gonna use MGN for migration. Mm-hmm. And then we are gonna use also for database, we have multiple options. Either we're going to use MGN also to lift and shift the whole database, or we can use database migration service. We can talk about that also at a later point. This is basically for database migration.
Okay.
And for storage migration, there is also another service we have is called DataSync, AWS DataSync.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about all of this based on the migration strategy, what we're going to define. But since we're going to have all of this migration, I would highly recommend to have a direct connect between your on-prem environment and AWS, which is a dedicated connection. So it's like a pipe between AWS as a private connection for you, so that we guarantee the bandwidth between on-prem and AWS.
Right. So during the transfer, we would like our partners to be connected at all times. So I think this would be a good option then. What do you think?
Yes, that would be awesome. Yeah, that will be basically the best way to go through that.
Okay. So all this sounds really good, Nabil. I'm just concerned about the costs. So our CFO was concerned about any unexpected cloud expenses. As you know, we are making a big move. So we really want to manage, control, and govern our expenses. So what kind of tools or services we can use for that? Can you suggest, and how can we go about that?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, that from overall cost of running this workload in AWS, we will help you to set up that, we'll help you to estimate how much it costs you to run AWS based on the actual usage. That's the inventory what we're going to receive later. But after you move to AWS, there are different tools and services we have. We have AWS Budget, which is basically monitor your, you can define like the thresholds, and then you can integrate that with SNS for notification. If something goes above a specific limit. Also, we're gonna define if you are talking about how your development team, you are afraid that they might spin up stuff which is
right.
So this is what we also part of the landing zone in AWS organization. We're gonna have specific accounts for sandbox account for the developers, and then also we can define in that what kind of services they can spin up or not. And then we can also define notification on that. If they spin up a notification, kind of specific thing, there are multiple governance, I would say, not only from budgeting, we can also do combine that with AWS tagging strategy, so that to know who is spinning up, we get notification, we should shut down this workload after hours because no one is using it based on specific kind of requirement. So we can go through all of this. There are so many different tools we can go through, talk about it also.
Okay, that's promising, and I'm sure there are some long-term strategies also for when you are running workloads 24/7 where I can save, right? I've heard about savings plans. Is that right?
Yes, we have multiple if you heard about a reserved instance or saving plans, it is basically you can commit to 1 or 3 years of using the compute, and then we get a discounted price for that. So for steady workload, we highly recommend to go through that. And that's also will be part of our TCO analysis or for the business case.
I think you've covered most of it. So this is great. I just want to get started. So just tell me a brief overview about the steps that I can go through.
Yeah. So after the call, I'm gonna clean up this diagram, put it in a nicer way a little bit, and then I'm gonna send a summary about what we discussed. What we would like to start is we would like to receive the inventory. I will also explain how we can pull that inventory from on-prem and from GCP too. We will take around a week or two based on the resources from our side. We will work also with the AWS Cloud Economics team to help with the business case to see that how can we help you and compare what you are running on-prem and AWS. Once we do that, then we will go through, if you remember that we spoke earlier about all the migration strategy, which is assess, mobilize, and migrate and modernize. So we will do all of the assess phase. We also have what we call it migration readiness assessment, or MRA. It's basically to understand how you run workload in your current environment and what services or tools you use today, and what can we bring to AWS or what you need to change based on that. We also can do what we call it learning need analysis, which we're going to go and interview your team to see what is their skill set of knowing and AWS, so that we will know that if we can scale, they can scale AWS workload, or we need to have a support in the future. So we also can give them training and can also offer the immersion days to make sure that your team know about how we run workload in AWS. The other thing also we need to figure out along the way, the partners. So I'm going to recommend some partners from our side, make sure that cover the requirement what you have, and they have a skill set for moving on-prem VMware workload and also GCP workload to AWS. We'll make sure that we'll be along the way with them so that nothing is being missed from our side. And then I'm not sure if you will be interested also for using a support. We have a AWS managed service team who help you run the workload after you're on-prem.
At least initially, yes. So
That's basically most of the customer do that. They like to run on use AMS so that to see their team set with them, learn how they run workload in AWS after they get out from on-prem. That will be useful for your team too. Yeah.
That was fantastic, Nabil. Thank you so much, and I look forward to our next discovery workshop.
Thank you very much. Sorry if I gone over time, but I'm really happy to meet you, and I'm looking forward for this opportunity.
Nabil, you were on time. It was me and Tavi who went overboard with the VMware topic.
Nice.
Cool. I know we are 10 minutes into the session, but thank you everyone for sticking around. And we understand that VMware is a difficult topic and a lot to pack in just one session. We will be following up with a lot of resources for you to go through in your own time. Do not rush it. VMware is not a topic that you can kind of gain expertise in a week. And that will be the case going forward also. Next week, we are covering storage and database migration, which again is a very heavy topic in itself. Ashish is great in analogies, so I'll let him pick up that and start doing his analogies to simplify it for the audience. And then the subsequent 2 weeks, week 5 and week 6, where let me share the screen very quickly so that it'll be easier for everyone to see.
The resources, we take time to figure out what is the best resource for you. So look at those resources. That would be really helpful, and bookmark it, come back again, watch the session again, as Parna was saying. Maybe do it on a slow speed if you are having problem with the VMware session. So go on slow speed and figure out what you are still missing.
Yeah, and going forward, even these topics will be very heavy in case if you're new to modernization, like modernization patterns and pathways on AWS. We'll be introducing a lot of path patterns there, and we'll be doing a lot of demos here in these sessions. And even if you look at the behavioral, it's very packed, like workload discovery meeting in itself. This can go on for a couple of hours, the way Parna and Nabil were going on to do a proper discovery meeting, and same will be the next thing. So we'll try and condense them as much as we can and provide as much value as much within the short span we have, and then we'll be following up with resources for you to upskill in your own time. Cool. Let me just share one last slide for people as a next step, which is now it's your turn to complete the knowledge check. Obviously, we'll send the resources probably by tomorrow or day after max. Go through those and then do the knowledge checks. Practice the hands-on workshop. This particular week workshop, you will not be able to do it in your own AWS account unless you do that setup on your own. Otherwise, you can go through the workshop in your own time in terms of reading it and looking through all the phases. But we'll be sending the link and details around it. Yeah, be active and support your peers. I see a lot of people answering questions here in the chat to each other, which is great. Thank you so much for doing that. And please be active on the Discord also. Like we as AWS people, we try and get as much bandwidth as possible, but it's not always feasible for us to answer each and every question. But feel free to keep the communication up between you folks. And yeah, share your learnings widely as much as possible. This is really important for you to actually reinforce your learning and share with everyone and showcase your skill set.
Thanks everyone for joining, and it was a great discussion. And we will see you again. Thanks Nabil, thanks Parna, thank you Tabby. See you all.
Thanks everyone. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.